And good evening. I'm Richard Louie in New York. We have some late-breaking news out of the Middle East to report on. According to U.S. Central Command, the U.S. has now begun a third round of strikes against Iran after its Revolutionary Guard fired a warning shot at a cargo vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran saying now that that ship was using a, quote, unauthorized route. Iran now declaring the Strait of Hormuz closed. That is what is new this hour. In response to CENTCOM's announcement, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying on X, quote, Iran made a poor choice. Now they pay. Joining us now is MS Now senior national security reporter David Rohde. And David, as we lead up to this, there certainly was some kinetic action in the last 24 to 48 hours. What is new is that they are declaring it's closed.
Yeah, that's the difference, is that essentially the Trump administration issued an ultimatum. They demanded that Iran announced that the strait was open, not closed. And the response from the Iranians was to fire on a ship and say the strait is closed. And now the U.S. is responding with airstrikes. I think, basically this conflict has resumed. It's not at the level it was, I think, on February 28th when the war began and much of the Iranian leadership was killed. But I think it's fair to say at this point that the war between the United States and Iran has resumed at a lower level. But, there's no part of the memorandum of understanding that was signed several weeks ago, at this point appears to be in effect.
Now, this is the third round that CENTCOM has said and as being reported at the moment in terms of response to Iran coming from the U.S. What were the first two? Do we know what that kinetic action was?
Yeah, it's the same pattern. Basically, you see this over and over again. Someone posted this on X, but I completely agreed. You essentially have, there's some sort of agreement between the U.S. and Iran. At some point after that, Iran will fire on a ship that is somehow crossing the strait or operating in a way that the Iranians don't want. And then Iran will fire on that ship, and that's happened twice before. And then the U.S. responds with airstrikes, usually in southern Iran, along the coast, as the map shows, near the Strait of Hormuz. And then Iran typically responds then with longer-range missile and drone strikes on U.S. bases. We've seen that in Bahrain. They actually attacked an American base in Jordan. And then what happens is intermediaries, the Pakistanis and the Qataris, come in and the situation calms down. But it's this same pattern of, things calming down, the U.S. demanding the strait be fully open, the Iranians essentially not agreeing to that. And then we just go round and round here. The difference is that the amount of U.S. strikes, the last round, I think in these strikes was over 100 U.S. strikes. In the past, there have been smaller amounts of strikes in these rounds of these confrontations, maybe a few dozen, but now we're in over 100. So one thing to watch is how widely the airstrikes that Secretary Hegseth announced, how many targets they're hitting. Because the question is this all intensifying and escalating and growing? And that's what we'll see based on these U.S. strikes.
Now, from what we're hearing from various news sources here, David, is that this happened about an hour and a half ago, more or less, in terms of what Reuters is reporting. In addition to that, this declaration has not yet specifically established, this according to the AP, whether or not this means all ships are not allowed through in terms of effectively closed. The ship itself, according to AP, was a Cyprus-flagged container ship. When we look at this complexity of what closed and not closed is, this is not necessarily complexity we have not seen before.
It isn't, but what matters for both sides is exactly, and the thing for viewers to watch is how many ships are actually getting through. And the answer is very few. soon after this memorandum of understanding was signed, it got back up to, I believe, 50 to 60 to 70 ships a day were crossing back through the straits. That's not at the level it was before the war. That was about 130 on average. But in the last few days, the traffic has ground to a halt again. It's down to 10, 20 ships at most. And so, again, the big picture here, as these we go through these cycles, it's that fuel isn't getting through the strait. So you will see oil prices rise, and you could see prices rise in the U.S. Inside Iran, this also means that ships aren't getting back into Iran. So Iran's not receiving food. It's not able to sell oil. So it's a difficult situation for Iranian civilians.